Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my channel. Today's video is not a makeup tutorial. It's a little, I guess, story time. You probably already know what this is about because it will be in the title, I'm assuming. First of all, I want to say if you already have negative opinions on cosmetic procedures, you can probably just leave this video now. This was a pretty traumatic experience for me, and I don't really need any negativity in the comment section, so please refrain. First, let's just talk about lip filler a little bit in case you don't really know anything about it. There are quite a few different products that you can use to fill your lips. It's done by either a nurse or someone who is trained specifically to do injectables. The filler that I use is Juvederm Ultra. It's used to plump the lips. You can make them more symmetrical, you can make them fuller, you can give them a bit more of a defined shape. And the filler is made up of hyaluronic acid, which is something your body already produces. It's temporary. If you decide you don't like it, you can have it immediately dissolved with something called hyaluronidase, which breaks down the hyaluronic acid. I started getting my lips filled, I think it's been about 2 years. At first, I went a little bit bigger. I did a full syringe of Juvederm, which is about $750 Canadian. I had a ton of swelling, a ton of bruising, and after that, I decided that when I went in to sort of upkeep, I was never gonna do a full milliliter again. I only ever did about every 6 to 8 months, a half of a syringe, so 0.5, which is like, I think it's like half a teaspoon. So I think that in total, I maybe went back for filler 5 times in the last 2 years. I always bruise, I always swell, not as badly when I do half instead of full, but I loved getting filler. Hurts terribly, even with numbing cream, but I loved the way it kind of made my face look more symmetrical. It evened out my top lip and bottom lip. It made them like pouty and full, and I really like the way they look. I also love that it's temporary. You can have them dissolved. I have heard that it changes the shape of your lips a little bit after you've had filler, so you definitely have to consider that before making the decision to have filler. You may have noticed that I have had my filler dissolved, not by choice. Obviously, with anything that you are injecting into your face, any procedure that you have done, pretty much everything you do can have side effects. I am one of those people where if there is a 1% chance that there might be a negative side effect, it happens to me. I swear to God. Today is June 25th. The last time I had filler was June 5th, so it's been 20 days since I had filler. It was on a Wednesday. I went in. I've been seeing the same woman forever. She also does work for my mom, so I've known her for like 15 years. I love her to death. She's a nurse. She knows what she's doing. She's fantastic. I wouldn't trust anyone else with my lips. In the next bit of this video, I am going to throw in some pictures that are kind of graphic, a little bit gross. So if you don't like that kind of stuff, here is another chance to leave the video. You might know that I have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It affects pretty much every single part of my body, including my vascular system. Hello. Hello. Hi. So your face is filled with blood vessels. Obviously, that's how your tissue has a blood supply. There are areas of your face that are like danger zones for injectables. And if someone knows what they're doing, obviously they don't inject into any of the danger zones. Since I have a connective tissue disorder, mine aren't the way they should be. So I went in to get filler. This side of my lip was like slightly lower than this side, and I said I just want a little drop in here to kind of bring it up because it had kind of dissolved in a way where it was slightly uneven. You wouldn't be able to notice, but I could notice. Unfortunately, you have to buy half a syringe. You can't just buy one drop. So we put some in here, we put some in my bottom lip, and there was one tiny drop left, and I was like, well, let's just pop it in the other side. So we did 1 injection in the other side. It hurt, but it always hurts. I'm a baby, it makes me cry. I do not like getting lip injections, but I do like getting lip injections. So the next day I had bruising. I always have bad bruising, but this bruising went all the way up to my nose, which I had never had before. And I was like, weird. We must have kind of hit something that made it bruise. Whatever, carried on with my life. The next day, Luke's birthday, we were supposed to have a barbecue that day. We had a whole bunch of running around to do, a whole bunch of errands to run, cupcakes to make. And I was kind of like, my lip hurts. I get like hurts, not like normal tenderness and pain. Like it hurt. It hurt when I was eating. It hurt when I was talking. It was swollen and it was quite firm. And I was kind of like, this just doesn't feel right. It didn't look terrible. It wasn't like big and crazy swollen. And I kind of just brushed it off, and I talked to my mom and she was like, you should just call and make sure. Luke was like, you should just call and make sure. So I called. They asked me to send in a photo. I sent in a photo. They immediately called me back and were like, we need you to come in right now. We need to look at this. And I was like, okay, but that's an hour drive. It's Luke's birthday. I'm not coming in. Like, maybe I could go somewhere in the town I live in. And they were like, no, this is serious and we need you to come in right now. Scary. So of course I start Googling. I start seeing all of these horror stories, all of these terrible things that have happened to people who have had fucked up lip injections. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. No, not really, but it was really scary. So I get to the clinic. The lady who usually does my lips is away, of course. And they tell me that an artery, a vessel that was kind of not in the right place in my face, had been injected with filler. What this means is that the blood supply to the surrounding tissue had been blocked. If you know what happens to tissue when it doesn't get blood, then you know it dies. When I started hearing tissue death and necrosis, I kind of lost it a little bit. That was really, really scary. Right off the bat, she noticed that I had 2 tiny little white pustules and she pointed them out. I didn't even notice them before and said, this is the beginning of necrosis. This is the beginning of tissue death. So in my very, very painful, very unhappy lip, they had to start flooding my lip with the dissolver. They had to do this without numbing. It was already so sore and it was so many pokes. Like I couldn't even tell you how many pokes it was. They had to flood the whole upper part of my lip with the dissolving stuff, my whole entire top lip, to make sure they got all of the filler out from my blood supply so that it could come back. One of the things that they kept doing was pressing on it because it was red, and once you pressed on it, it would turn white and it would not turn back to red, which means that the blood supply was not there. After they flooded my lip with the hyaluronidase, they said, unfortunately, this is going to dissolve your filler, and this is also going to dissolve your natural hyaluronic acid. Of course. And I know it seems silly, but after 2 years of kind of building it up and getting my lips the way that I wanted and loving them, this was really, really hard and really, really sad. And I had a really hard time with it, especially because I wasn't used to the way I looked after it was all dissolved. It was shocking to my eyes. Now, I don't mind it as much, I think, because I'm used to it. And I think that all of the trauma that my lips went through, I actually did build up some scar, refill with some of my own natural hyaluronic acid. So they're not as small as they were when I had them dissolved. I'm gonna show you a picture of what it looked like the next day. This was when it was getting bad, but not the worst. I immediately had to start antibiotics. I had to get an antibiotic cream to put on it to avoid infection. I had to go all the way back to the clinic, which was an hour drive there and an hour drive back every day for like 5 days, because it was protocol that they saw me every day, because it was like a serious thing. If you have necrosis, sometimes you have to have the tissue cut out if it like dies. Luckily, since I had a good clinic that had such a strict protocol, I am okay. I have it covered right now. It has scarred quite badly, but they also gave me something called Scarnax, something to help with the scarring. It's really stiff, it's really thick. I can feel it when I kind of pull my lip down. I guess it would have been day 4 when it was the worst. Here is a terrible photo for you. The part where the tissue was dying and I had all the pustules, it was a horrible, horrible pain. Like, I can't explain how much that hurt. And then having to go in, and every day I went in, they put in more dissolving fluid just to be safe. And they had to inject it into that spot where it was all open and pussy and disgusting. Hello? 2 people have called me when I'm trying to film this, and I'm already nervous. It's not helping. Throughout this process, I had the phone numbers of 2 nurses who would bug me for photos. They constantly asked me for updates. We were texting back and forth, and it was really, I'm really grateful that they were so attentive, because like I would wake up with a couple more little spots and I would be able to take a picture, send them a message and say like, is this okay? Do I need to come in again right now? What should I do? And they were always there to help me. It has been a long 3 weeks. I hated not being able to film. I knew that I wanted to film this video for you guys so you know what to look out for. I know you guys are gonna ask if I will get filler again, and yes, I will. One of the nurses that helped me fix my issue has been doing injectables for 25 years, and she has seen this complication twice. So it's not something that happens very often at all. It's very rare, which is why it happened to me. I am going to have, I can't have filler for 8 weeks. I am going to fill my top lip a little bit more, but I don't think I'll ever have needle injections again. What I'll have the nurse do is a cannula injection. So they pop a little hole right here, and then they feed in kind of like a long needle, and they fill it just through one hole, which prevents the bruising. It's not quite as precise. You can't really, fill a nice lip line, but no more needles for me. I've had it done with a cannula once. I liked it. I found it hurt a million times less. I like that I had no bruising. I guess the reason I wanted to make this video is to, well, just tell you guys that this happened to me and it was a fucked up experience. And also just make sure you guys are really informed. Do a lot of research. If you decide you want any kind of injectable, make sure you find someone reputable. Make sure you know all of the side effects that could possibly happen. I did know. I still decided to do it. And I don't regret it. It sucks that that happened, but it was nobody's fault. It just was a crappy side effect that happens to 1%. That's me. Some of you might think I'm crazy or stupid for wanting to fix my lip. Not fix, to enhance. I just feel like it's not really balanced with my bottom lip anymore, and I loved my full lips. I also wanted to make this video in case you are already getting injections, planning on getting injections. If it ever feels not quite right, just make sure you call and ask, send them a photo. Make sure you go to a good clinic who will be able to be there for you in a situation like that. I'm so impressed with how they handled the situation. As part of the protocol, I even had to see a plastic surgeon, like an actual plastic surgeon, to make sure it was going all right. So it was all a very scary experience. I did a lot of crying. I didn't want to film. I didn't want to be out in public. I think that just because I was so not used to the way my mouth looked, I thought it was just a mess. Well, it was a mess. It was definitely a mess there for a while. But like, I like these lips. They're nice. I don't feel like I need to fix them. I don't feel like I need to fill them at all. It's just something I want to do, and it's my face, so I can. I think that's all I have to say. Just make sure you do your research, know what can happen if you decide to have any cosmetic procedures, and I hope you liked the disgusting photos of my mouth. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. That will be a makeup video, I promise.